Christ and His Holy Catholic Church through Scripture, tradition, and the Catechism. And now, your host, Jim Havens.
It is great to be back with you on The Simple Truth, where we proclaim the life-giving reality of Jesus and His Catholic Church. We consecrate everything to the Sacred Heart of Jesus through the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the pure, strong heart of Saint Joseph. It is Wholeness and Healing Monday, fighting to cultivate the health of the whole person, mind, body, and soul. With our co-host every Monday, my lovely wife, Becky Havens. Becky is the author of Toxin Free in 12 Months, a 12-month guide to help you transition over to a toxin-free lifestyle. She also wrote a boycott list of over 300 pro-abortion companies. You can get both of those resources for free and learn more at her website, safehavensmama.com. That's safehavensmama.com. Becky, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great. And one benefit of these resources being in electronic form as ebooks and files that you can change whenever you want is that you can update them. So I think you saw some updates. You made some updates just recently over the past week to those resources. You want to explain anything about that?
Yes. So the ebook, I had to make some updates regarding just some things that were outdated, and then as well, a lot of companies that I was recommending, have since come out since last year when I did this in full support of abortion. And so I went through and got rid of all those companies and just deleted it all. And you can head over to the website, and even through the ebook, there's links on there that will point you in the direction of the shopping guide, which has all of the brands that I've highly vetted and that I recommend that are safe and clean and also are not supporting abortion or any of the extreme left ideas, and just usually small businesses. So super easy.
Yeah, appreciate all your good work on that. Again, safehavensmama.com. And our topic today, toxins all around us and what you can do about it. We're going to begin by looking at a recent news report entitled Common Consumer Products Contain Multiple Toxic Chemicals, New Study Shows. This is easy. You do a little search on toxic chemicals and products and all kinds of stuff is going to pop up. This one is a New York Times article from earlier in the month. It states as follows: more than 100 types of common consumer products contain at least one and often multiple chemicals linked to cancer or reproductive and developmental problems, according to research published Tuesday in the Journal of Environmental Science and Technology. Many of the chemicals were found in personal care products, including nail polish, shampoo, lotion, and soap. Cleaning products, particularly all-purpose cleaners, laundry detergent, and dish soap, also they contained numerous chemicals. It goes on to say the thing that jumped out to us was really just the extent of the exposures, said Kristen Knox, a staff scientist at the Silent Spring Institute who led the research. Quote, people can be exposed to the same chemical in a whole bunch of different products, end of quote. Some products also contain many different chemicals. And finally, it goes on to also quote a research professor at NYU who studies human exposure to toxic substances, who also commented as follows, quote, these volatile organic compounds are there in almost every product that we use, the consumer products, personal care products, cosmetics. It goes on from there, and this fits right in with a 2-hour documentary that you, Becky, asked me to watch. It's called Trade Secrets, on how chemical companies have collaborated to keep from American workers and from the American public the full truth about the impact of chemicals on health and safety. It's from 2001, but the video does a good job of providing some history on the so-called chemical revolution of the past 70 years. Let's go to one clip near the end of the video where the host of the report, Bill Moyers, gets back his blood test, which shows that out of 150 different industrial chemicals that he was tested for, the results showed that he had 84 of those industrial chemicals in his blood. Here it is.
We didn't know this until we looked, but suddenly we find out that the industry has put a bunch of chemicals in our body that are not good for us. And we didn't have any say in that. That just happened.
What kind of chemicals?
In the PCB case, you had 31 different PCBs. of this whole family of similar chemicals. They are all over the place, and it's probably a function of where you lived. You lived in some locale where PCBs were in the environment, and you got them into you through the air you breathe. Some of them get down in groundwater. Some of them get coated on food. You didn't get them sort of in one afternoon because you ate a poisoned apple.
And dioxins?
Dioxins of all that we measured, you had 13 different dioxins of this large family of chemicals.
You tested for some pesticides?
Yes. The organophosphates, malathion is one we may have heard of because we're spraying it here in New York.
I used to spray malathion on my house in my yard in Long Island.
We also measured organochlorine pesticides, the best known as DDT. Now, DDT hasn't been produced in this country for several decades.
Yeah, so where would I have gotten that?
Did you ever, watch them spray the trees when you were a little kid?
Young man. Young man, right.
Yeah, okay.
And I lived around places that had used it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's enough because, again, like PCBs, these are very persistent chemicals. The body doesn't metabolize them, doesn't break them down into little pieces and get rid of them.
How do the results of my tests compare with others around the country?
I wish we had more data. I wish I could give you a clear answer to that. The burdens that you carry are probably biologically less important than if you were a 21-year-old woman who was in her 9th week of pregnancy, and then the fact that you were circulating some DDT might really be important.
Have these chemicals been tested in terms of what happens when they are combined?
No. That is a complexity that we haven't even looked at.
Have they been tested on vulnerable populations like children?
No. We are just beginning to do that science.
Is it fair to say from all of this that we are, as human beings, being unwittingly exposed to hundreds of toxic chemicals which have been tested enough just to know that they're toxic, but not tested enough to know the risks?
That's a fine summary of the current state of affairs. We know enough now to know that it doesn't make a lot of sense to make chemicals that are carcinogenic and add them to our bodies and then argue about how much we're adding. It just isn't a good idea, particularly when there are perfectly acceptable alternatives, and that if the industry chose, it could change our exposures dramatically by its own actions.
All right, there it is, the video called Trade Secrets. You can find it on YouTube. If you did get our email today, if you're on our email list for The Simple Truth, it was in that email. If you want to get on that email list, just go to thestationofthecross.com, go to The Simple Truth and sign up for the email list. They're also going to get to your survey responses as we go, and we'll put the phone number out in just a little bit to get your comments and questions on this topic today. But again, that was Trade Secrets on how chemical companies have collaborated to keep from American workers and from the American public the full truth about the impact of chemicals on health and safety. A lot here, a big topic, a very important topic here today. Becky, some of your thoughts by way of introduction.
Yeah, and that was from 2000, so that was 23 years ago, and it's almost the same. I know there's regulations in place, which is good, but these kind of chemicals are everywhere. You've probably heard a lot about PFAS, PFAS, and that's the new forever chemical that they talk about. And they are, thousands of man-made chemicals that have been around since the 1940s. And they're everywhere, and they're in your nonstick pans and your shower curtains and your rubber boots and your rain gear. I mean, everything. And the problem with those is kind of like what this doctor was saying, is they don't break down. This guy had chemicals in him since he was a young man. And so where did they go? They just kind of sit there in your body. So that's why it's important just to be healthy so that your body can naturally try to detox these type of things. But it was a really good documentary, even though it was old and probably outdated. It's a great look into how corrupt the whole industry is, and that is still very much going on today. And just, it's good. It's something just to be aware of and try to minimize your exposure the best that you can.
Mm-hmm. Yes, if you want to call in today with any comment or question for us on this, you can do so. The phone lines are open now, and that phone number is as soon as I can find it here. 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. And, this is an interesting question as far as why cover this topic? Why is this important today? And at first, I want to just tell everybody, be at peace. All right. This is about getting some important information out. It is important. And let me line it up with, I guess, something St. Paul said in Romans 12:2. He said, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may prove what is the will of God, that is good and acceptable and perfect." And the word prove here meaning to test, to examine, to discern. So certainly of the highest goods, those which pertain to the salvation of our souls, absolutely. But also there is a discernment about what is good for our bodies as well, which does impact the good of our souls. Again, we want to show up to live our vocation well. We want to fulfill God's calling in our lives. And part of that is about being wise in terms of what we're exposing ourselves to, in terms of what we're exposing our soul to, what we're exposing our body to. And the fact is that you are owed the full information. It's an act of justice, the virtue of justice, to be given what you are owed. You deserve to know what kind of chemicals are in all of these things that we are using every day. What kind of toxins are there? There's so much that we do know about, and there's so much that isn't being reported as it ought to be. So we're going to be digging into that today as we go. We're going to help you to understand what you can do now going forward. Stay tuned.
My name is Joe DiPietro, faithful navigator of an assembly in Massachusetts. Brother Knights, it's time to get off the sidelines. Speaking as a member of the Knights of Columbus on my own behalf, I strongly encourage all councils to participate in the Men's March and Rally for Personhood, starting with the upcoming march on Saturday, June the 3rd in Albany. The message of the movement, personhood for the preborn, needs to be proclaimed in the public square in a special way by men who are called to protect the weakest and most vulnerable among us, and to play a pivotal role in bringing about a culture of life. Personhood aligns with the magisterial teachings of our faith that life must be protected absolutely from the moment of conception, and helps Knights to retire the March for Life requirement of the Faith in Action service program. Our Supreme Knight, Patrick E. Kelly, has numerously encouraged all Knights to attend national and local marches. Will your council accept the invitation to turn out at the New York State House? Please visit themensmarch.com for details and invite members and families to participate on June the 3rd.
January of 21, people were feeling pretty good. You know, the government was dumping thousands of dollars into your accounts. Inflation hadn't started yet. People saved a lot of extra money.
Jeffrey, is there a caffeine analogy here? If you start mainlining, double espresso, there's a rush, but there's a price to be paid for it.
Yeah, there's a price to be paid.
The Catholic Current, 5 p.m. Eastern, from the Station of the Cross and on the iCatholic Radio mobile app.
Are you ready to take on the world of flesh and the devil with just the facts? This is Jesse Romero, host of Jesus 911, heard weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm joined each day by a variety of co-hosts like Ruben Nava, Paul Clay, Dan Schneider, and my amazing wife, Anita Romero. We tackle Catholic devotions, spiritual warfare, family life, saving America, and everything in between. Join us each weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific for Jesus 911. God bless you. Keep the faith.
The Simple Truth. Jim Havens here. Wholeness and Healing Monday, fighting to cultivate the health of the whole person, mind, body, and soul, with co-host Becky Havens, author of Toxin Free in 12 Months, a 12-month guide to help you transition over to a toxin-free lifestyle. She also wrote a boycott list of about over 300 pro-abortion companies. We're going to get to that towards the end today. You can get both these resources for free. Learn more at her website, safehavensmama.com. Our topic today, toxins all around us and what you can do about it. Give us a call right now if you have any questions or comments on this topic, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. All right, Becky. So in your online resource, your ebook, Toxin Free in 12 Months, under the month of July, you write about learning to read labels. You write as follows, quote, reading labels can save you years of health-related issues down the road. sound far-fetched. Truth is, our foods, healthcare products, medicines, and beauty products include unknown, unsourced, unregulated ingredients. Many ingredients, especially in the beauty industry, are untested and unregulated and causing many dangerous side effects and long-term health issues. Because there are no regulations on beauty products, a voluntary program was set up called the Cosmetic Ingredient Review Process. No company has to comply with this process, and therefore the CIR has reviewed less than 20% of the FDA estimated 12,500 chemicals used in cosmetics. Guess what? They flagged only 9 ingredients out of 12,500. Not good. Thankfully, companies are waking up to the demands of consumers and creating cleaner products with less harmful ingredients, but we still must be the greatest advocate for ourselves and our families. That means we must get familiar with what we don't want in our products. End of quote. In the survey that we sent out, 80% of those who responded said that they do read the labels on the products that they buy. Those that said yes said, quote, I look for sulfate-free products and products that are free of trans fats, high fructose corn syrup, and hidden sugars. Also, I try to keep the theme of if there are more than 3 listed ingredients, it is not good for you. Also, bleached flour, high fructose corn syrup. And then here's another one, anything I can't pronounce. Also, I look for gluten, grain-free, no modified food starch, hidden sugars, omega-6 oils. End of quote. We're going to get to a list of food ingredients to avoid in a moment. But Becky, anything that you want to share about this learning to read labels? It seems like people, when we asked them about this, they immediately went to the food labels. There's a lot going on with the other products and looking at the labels, especially of cleaning products, cosmetics, personal care, all of that. We're going to get into that later in the show as well. But just in regarding learning to read labels, anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I think a lot of us are familiar with reading food labels because the food industry is a little bit more regulated, whereas personal care products, cleaning products, beauty products are completely unregulated. Like anything can go in there and they don't have to even disclose it. So you get something on your label regarding, like if it says fragrance, you can have up to 1,000 different ingredients within that title fragrance, and they don't have to disclose what's in the fragrance or anything. It's kind of dangerous because as you realize, more studies are coming out saying 90% of our cancers are environmental, whereas they used to say it was almost all genetic and who in your family has cancer and looking at the family lines, and that's almost becoming irrelevant because if 90% of our cancers are environmental, then it's coming from what we're putting on our body, what we're breathing in, what we're eating, all of that. And so just simple things like reading your labels is at least going to cut the exposure down quite a bit. And I would just say, beware of things that look nice, because you have a word called greenwashing, which a lot of companies do. You have Seventh Generation and Mrs. Meyer's and Method, and those are the common ones you see in grocery stores. So if you see those common ones in grocery stores, they're pretty much always going to be tainted either in ingredients or in their policies regarding their support on abortion and LGBT, all that stuff. And so it's good to go in and research a little bit more. I try to get small businesses. I know that's not easy. I know it's very easy to go to the grocery store and get what you need there, but it is good to support other businesses or make your own and cut that middleman, because a lot of these companies are owned by huge companies. Like Seventh Generation is owned by Unilever, who is huge, and they own just about everything in your personal care products that you would find at CVS. And it's all unregulated. They don't have to regulate anything. They don't have to test the ingredients. They know, very similar to what we were talking about in that documentary, that these chemicals are harmful, especially for women. Look at the talc issue that they had. It took years and years to get that off the shelves. And so I would just say, really take the time to see what's in your products. In the ebook, I have all different sorts of ingredients to avoid to make it super easy. You can screenshot that and just take it with you to the store. You'll eventually get better at doing it. It sounds complicated, but it really can be simple after a little bit of practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Yeah, I've got an article here too. It's from 2016. It says the EPA has only banned 9 chemicals out of thousands. And it goes into all of that, but you remember these different chemicals. Some of us may have heard about some of these things before. I'm not old enough to have experienced the DDT, and it's crazy when you look at those films where they're going by and spraying all the trees and everything with this. It seems like a white smoke or something. There's kids out there playing in the middle of it. Turned out to be extremely harmful. Also, vinyl chloride is one that they went into pretty extensively in that documentary, which they really use as a way to track through their own internal paperwork that was finally released many years later about how there was a big cover-up. They knew that it was harmful, but they covered it up. They didn't tell their own workers about this. This is several companies all collaborating, working together on this, even though they knew it was very dangerous. They had gotten all the facts on this. They didn't tell the workers, and then they weren't saying anything further about it, even as it was becoming more and more exposed. They tried to cover it up as much as they could, even with so-called medical MDs at the front of the line saying it's all safe, even though they really fudged the reports and kind of made up the science by cooking it in various ways. And so there's a whole lot to all of this, but the bottom line is there's a lot of chemicals out there, and these things are affecting us. That's why we played the example of that clip of the blood test and how this was in his blood in that first segment. It's likely that we're all carrying this stuff. Again, we want to be at peace about all of this, but we want to be wise in terms of our knowledge, our understanding, and what we can do about it. It seems to me there's 2 things that we want to look forward to with respect to all of this. One is preventative. How can we make sure that we're not being exposed to this stuff as much as possible? What are the ways to prevent it? And then also remedial, meaning if these things are already in us, is there any way we can purify our own bodies from what's already been put in there? I know we're going through various lists as we go today about what to avoid in all of these categories. But Becky, is there anything else that you want to add in terms of preventative methods, preventative advice, and also when it comes to remedies? If it's already in us, you mentioned that just trying to do all the basics of living a healthy lifestyle is going to help us. But is it also true that maybe some of this stuff, that there's not a whole lot maybe that we can do once it's in us, as far as being completely freed from it, and just do what we can do, be at peace, but it would be wise to minimize our exposure to these harmful toxins that we're aware of? Anything else you want to share, Becky?
Yeah, I mean, preventative for sure. You have to do your best to make sure you're living a healthy lifestyle and eliminating toxins if you can. I mean, there's so many, and it's so overwhelming to think about that it can almost make somebody say, never mind, I'm not doing anything. I don't care. I feel fine. And it's interesting because in the end, it is up to God, because there in that documentary, there were people who with high exposures were okay after many years of it being exposed to that vinyl chloride. And then there were other people who at very young ages were dying of liver cancer. And so it can be, with our makeup and genetics that can make it us more susceptible to different disease. But I think it's just important to prevent as much as we can and do our best to read labels and avoid toxins. Simple things like go outside and get fresh air. I mean, I'm not saying if you live in the city, sit there and breathe in all the city air, but there are ways to definitely prevent being exposed to so many chemicals. And then also I would just say, just be healthy. God made your body to work perfectly together. Now I know that there's disease and original sin and all that, but if you really work on keeping your body healthy, it can detox a lot of the chemicals that are coming in. I think God knew that was going to be happening and created, a liver and kidneys. And when they're working properly, you can detox it all, by sweating and all that good stuff. So I would just say pretty basic. It can be pretty simple on how to detox your body in a healthy way, just by exercising, eating right, sweating, and a whole lot of stuff that I don't want to get into too much, but it's all in the ebook if you want to check out more in depth in that.
Yeah, great. Yeah, in the July section, you do give a list of food ingredients to avoid. Can you share some of that now?
Yeah, it's a pretty big list. And like people were saying, if it's things you can't pronounce, and I think a lot of people already know a lot of these ingredients are probably not good for them, but they don't even think, a box can say like healthy or low sodium, and you're like, oh, this is probably healthy. But then you turn it around, there's like 55 ingredients. Probably not going to be that healthy because it's processed. So do what you can to make it at your home. But if you can't, a bunch of ingredients to avoid. These are like the big ones to avoid. Would be artificial flavors and sweeteners, canola oil, caramel color, gallon gum, locust bean, guar gum, high fructose corn syrup. And then you have a lot of preservatives like BHA, BHT, TBQ, or HQ, natural flavors, monosodium glutamate, which is MSG, but that can also be yeast extract, and proteins, different proteins that'll come under a different name as that, hydrogenated oils like trans fats, any colorings like red 40 and yellow 5. There's so many studies on these colorings and ADD and all these behavioral issues in kids, and they really keep that hidden. And people make a joke about it. Oh, your kids are on a sugar high, and it's like, no, they just had all of this food coloring and food dye that's making them go crazy because it's having a real chemical effect on their brain. So it is kind of dangerous if you look into it. You don't want to be, super uptight about it and never allow your kids to have anything. But you also really want to, if they're eating these type of things every day, I think it's really wise to cut that out because there's a lot of other options. So there's a bunch more, but yeah, I mean, it's out there and it's real. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the number to call in any question or comment on the topic today, toxins all around us, what you can do about it, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. Also, when we get back, we're going to get to some of your survey responses, any questions there, as well as getting into the next section of this topic, cleaning up your home. What's going on in the cleaning products? What are some rules of thumb there? And we're gonna dive deep there, as well as getting into ditch and switch your makeup, skincare, and hair care. What is this all about? This is an important aspect that we do need to get into as well. Stay tuned.
Here at the Station of the Cross, we proudly bring the truths of the Catholic faith to countless listeners through radio and mobile devices, and we're grateful for the feedback we've received.
I discovered the Station of the Cross rather providentially a year ago and have been a loyal listener ever since. I can't overestimate the value of the station, what it's made a difference in my life in terms of making me better informed Catholic. It has enriched my faith and told me during tough times. It made me laugh on several occasions. I commend the important work of this great apostolate.
I'm a stay-at-home mom. I listen to the radio, and if I can listen to something that brings me closer to God, closer to Jesus Christ, then it's the most beautiful thing.
If you've been blessed by listening to the Station of the Cross, let us know. Call 1-877-888-6279, extension 112. Then share your testimonial with us.
Do you love listening to the Station of the Cross on your car radio, but sometimes find yourself driving outside the listening area? Never miss another minute of your favorite show. Download the iCatholic Radio app so you can listen anywhere in the world 24 hours a day. The iCatholic Radio app is available for your phone in the Apple Store or for your Android phone in Google Play. Visit thestationofthecross.com for more information.
Keep up to date with the shows we bring you each day on the Station of the Cross by viewing our programming grid on our website, thestationofthecross.com, and on our iCatholic Radio app. Just click the menu icon in the top left portion of our app and select the link to our programming grid. That's at thestationofthecross.com and on our free iCatholic Radio app for Android and Apple mobile devices.
Truth. Jim Havens here with my lovely wife as co-host every Monday, Becky Havens. She is author of Toxin Free in 12 Months, a 12-month guide to help you to transition over to a toxin-free lifestyle. Also wrote a boycott list of over 300 pro-abortion companies. Going to get to that at the end today. And the resources are free. More at her website, safehavensmama.com, safehavensmama.com. Our topic today, toxins all around us, what you can do about it. 1-877-511-5483. Any comment or question, give us a call. 1-877-511-5483. In the January section of the book, Cleaning Up Your Home, Becky, you write that a good place to start off the new year, again, this is January in the book, but it's a good place to start off anytime. You say by eliminating your chemical-laden cleaning products. You say, this was a big one for me. As I got older and my hormones started to change after childbirth, I became very sensitive to strong, fragrant smells and cleaning products. They would trigger headaches, nausea, dizziness, made me feel generally unwell. As I dug deeper into ingredients in my cleaning products and air fresheners, I understood why I was having the reactions that I was, and I knew I needed a big change. You go into some of the data that you found that speaks for itself, and then you say it was a simple decision to rid my home of all the chemical products. I always hated having toxic cleaners, and once I had kids, this was something that I was very much on board with getting rid of them. And so, again, this is something that the reason we're addressing this today is because it is a matter of the virtue of justice. You deserve to know about this and to have informed consent on what is going on. Now, many of us have a sense of all of this, but it's worth diving into. This does affect the way that we are able to live our vocation faithfully and well, according to how God is calling us to fulfill the good that he is trying to have us do in our vocation, to the care of those who are entrusted to us. For those in family life, that's our children. And so that helps us to see it a little bit more clearly. We want to really protect our children and give them the best and not have them we don't want them susceptible to all of this harm, all of these harms, right? But we ought to care about ourselves just as much, in the sense of saying, hey, this stuff isn't good for us either. So this is important. Becky, tell us a little bit more about your story. It seems like you didn't care enough to get rid of it on your own, or maybe for the sake of your husband, but for your children. Now that's where we got to get rid of it. Tell us more.
It's probably because most of those products you buy have these horrible warnings on the back and say, will be fatal if swallowed. And you're thinking those horrible stories of your kid, drinking a bottle and that's it, and I'm thinking, why do I have these in my house? If they're so toxic, like I can't imagine they're good for me to be breathing in. And then when I started getting actual symptoms, I think after one of my births, I was in the hospital, and the room next to me, they were maybe dousing the entire room with bleach. At least that's what it smelled like. And I had just given birth, and I was feeling so ill because of the bleach. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to make it out of here or not, because it just has this effect on your body, especially if you're in a vulnerable state, like, having a baby. And I can't imagine it was good for me or the baby or anybody else in there to be breathing in. And then when I started learning more, and especially this one study that came out, and they shared that a professional home cleaner has an 80% higher likelihood of being diagnosed with cancer. That's staggering numbers. That's not just a small percentage. That's 80% higher likelihood. And I thought, I'm not using anything different than the house cleaners are using. And so I clean my house all the time, and stay-at-home moms, and we're pretty much house cleaners. That's, we're doing that all the time. And so I said, this is not going to be good if I continue on with this, especially since I'm not feeling good. And as I got to, research more about it, I realized, like, this is a thing. People know about this, and this is not good. And it's causing, asthma in healthcare workers, and birth defects for women who are pregnant and using these cleaners. So I think that's where it started for me. And under the counter, getting rid of it. I didn't want to have anything in my house that if my kids ever got a hold of it, it was going to be toxic to them. So I started making my own, or, just really natural type of stuff. And it was simple because I was convicted that that's the way I needed to go. And so, I list a whole bunch of ingredients to avoid, again, for the cleaning stuff. And these are heavier than the, I would say, other ingredients, because even small exposures of these ingredients are going to be really harsh on your body and your lungs. And a high amount of VOCs, which are those volatile compounds that we talked about earlier, and you're just inhaling them, and they'll have some serious effects. So I kind of go through and just share what I do and what I've used, and there's some really cheap, easy options. I know we're used to using bleach and the scrubbing bubbles, and we like clean homes. I get it. I hate gross bathrooms, but there are other ways, so it's possible.
Yeah, it's very, very good. And so all that's there. If you want to name any of those common cleaning ingredients to avoid in the cleaning products, feel free. But I also want to sneak this in. This is a comment from one of the 20% who responded, who say they don't read the labels before buying. Quote, "It's a matter mostly of cost. The multi-purpose cleaners that claim to be safe are much more expensive than the ones that are not. However, I often make my own cleaning products with vinegar and essential oils," end of quote. So even there, in the 20% that say they're not reading the labels before buying, it's not that they don't care, it's that they're factoring in cost, and also seems to be pointing to that sense of greenwashing that you talked about, that sometimes the claims made in the advertising on the bottle isn't even true. You have to know which products are which, even in that regard. And so just making their own cleaning products is what they've landed on, which seems like a pretty good option. So, Becky, any other toxin-free cleaning alternatives? Anything you want to say about what to avoid?
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people do because, when you take care of a home and you're constantly cleaning, you're going through bottles of spray, and the spray is just going everywhere. So if it's a toxic spray, you're constantly inhaling it. So it is smart to make your own and to know what's in there. And you might find a bottle of cleaner at the dollar store, but I can guarantee you that's coming straight from China. Who in the world knows what's in there? So I would totally avoid anything that you find in the grocery store that is like a cleaner. Honestly, like I don't even go to the grocery store to buy them, because the ingredients, they actually won't even share some of the ingredients on the label, which is a red flag right there. And they don't have to say this will cause cancer, but almost 95% of the ingredients in that will cause cancer. So you don't have to be crazy about it, but I think it's important to just avoid it. And so I recommend, just like that one survey woman said, I'm assuming it's a woman, so she makes her own cleaner, to just make your own. It's just, me and the kids do it. You just get a big jar and fill it with vinegar and put your old citrus peels in there and a little bit of essential oil, and you let it sit for 3 weeks, and that's just your own cleaner. Super simple. I know some people use hydrogen peroxide for dirtier things, or colloidal silver. Another one is Norwex. I know Norwex is a big company, and I've vetted them pretty thoroughly. They don't give you anything sketchy, and they're not boasting some kind of woke agenda. So I trust them as a company, and they have a lot of they don't even use chemicals. They're just cloths. They're just microfiber cloths. Some people have issues with the microfiber because it's hard to take care of, but that's something that we've been doing for a while, because you don't have to even use cleaners. So it's a mechanical way to clean instead of a chemical cleaning. So, and they use silver inside of the cloth. So that's been helpful. And then some main offenders, I would say, again, are fragrance. And they're adding so much fragrance in these cleaners because the cleaners smell so bad. And we don't always know what those combinations are doing and what kind of chemicals they're making from that. So fragrance is a big one. Glycol, DEA, sodium lauryl sulfate, SLES, EDTA, parabens, PEGs. There's a whole bunch more that half of them I can't even pronounce, but pretty much a guarantee that most 99% of products you're going to find are going to be pretty toxic to your health.
All right. If anybody wants the full list, you can go and get that Toxin Free in 12 Months ebook by going to safehavensmama.com. It's all free. along with all the other information there for you. If you want to call in now on this topic, toxins all around us, what you can do about it, give us a call. Any question, comment, any advice, tips, anything you want to add, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. In the August section entitled Ditch and Switch Your Makeup, Skincare, and Hair Care, Becky, tell us a little bit about your story on this and anything you want to let us know about why this is something that that people ought to be aware of.
Yeah, I think this was one of the last things that I even looked into. I think most people start with food because that's the most common thing that we're all looking into, you know, what's in our food. And you hear a lot of studies and news stories on that. And then a little bit on the cleaning products here and there. So people seem to be making their own or at least aware of it. But the personal care products was something that I just wasn't aware of. I mean, you use the same soap for 20 years and the same lotion, and it's cheap and it works and you get used to it. And then you realize that there's 40 ingredients on there that have been that are completely untested and unregulated, and it could be causing they could have carcinogens in it, and you have no idea, and you think, nobody's telling me this. Why isn't anybody telling me this? And it's because they don't have to, because the FDA doesn't regulate any type of personal care products. It's just not. Surprisingly, in the United States, there's no regulations. I think they've banned maybe 13 chemicals out of thousands of chemicals in the personal care industry. And so a lot of companies are getting better, and they're taking upon the European Union standards, which is over like 15 or 1,600 chemicals that are not allowed in products overseas. For some reason in America, a lot of these companies, they're just focused on money because it's cheap. And they know, the biggest thing is that these companies, they're not looking out for you. They don't have your best interest at hand or your children's best interest. And that's why I found that going to smaller businesses or people that I knew, that were recommending different products or things for, babies and personal care products, I started turning to them and seeing, like, what are you using? And that's kind of, a lot of times it's word of mouth. And I found some great products that I use and great companies that I trust. And because chemicals add up. And for women, if we're putting the same thing on our skin every day for 20, 30, 40 years, there's going to be effects down the road. And once I had 2 daughters, I felt like I really wanted to change that for them and just make them aware, and then the choice is up to them. But everybody has the right to know just the corruption behind all of it, and that it's all about money, and that we do have a choice to choose what we want to put on. And it could be the bad choice or a good choice. It's up to us, but we should have that information. So that's
outstanding. Yeah. We need to be informed of these things. Now, I'm not buying makeup and beauty products and these things. But for those that are, this seems like an important category. I mean, you're putting it right on your body. And I would imagine that that's something that is if you're putting this on your skin frequently. Now, that would also go for deodorants, right? Soaps, things like that. Now, I am using those items, right? And so those would be things that would be very, very important for me to be aware of. I know, Becky, that you've switched me out on my deodorants. I know that the soaps and things like that. Anything you want to say on any of that? We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it when we get to the other side of the break here, and that's where we will begin with the story of deodorants and soaps and things like that. But I will say this: that I'll give a little background for myself on this. So the deodorant, I seem to have a bit of a reaction to just regular deodorants, kind of like a rash after I use them for a while. Kind of a burning, not a great experience. Sad to let you know. But there are these other types of deodorants out there that do the job, that aren't the all-natural kinds that don't get the job done. These things do the job and at the same time aren't harming me. So I'm grateful for that. Becky will share what the name of that brand is when we get back. I don't even know. But I know that it works. And so Becky will share some more good stuff with us. Stay tuned.
This is Life News Radio. I'm Jim Anderson. With a veto of North Carolina's 12-week abortion ban over the weekend, Governor Roy Cooper argued that restrictions on abortions would hurt the economy. One pro-life leader is calling that absurd. The governor is hoping for 1 or 2 abandonments from pro-life legislators. Otherwise, the veto will be overridden. California churches fighting state coercion into funding abortion in healthcare are winning in court. 2 federal courts ruled that was a violation of the First Amendment, and states' attorneys have agreed to pay $1.4 million in church attorneys' fees. Another suit alleges that California assisted suicide law violates the Americans with Disabilities Act and could spell trouble for arranged dying laws in other states. The biotech that arranged the births of 5 children with literally 3 parents has more than just biotech problems. The mitochondrial DNA from the second mother had to be taken from 2 of her embryonic children who died. Each of the children born has 2 missing siblings. This is Life News Radio. Thousands of Canadians last week demonstrated in Ottawa in opposition to abortion, while governors in Arkansas and Kansas are cutting support to pregnant mothers seeking alternatives to abortion. Arkansas has awarded nearly $1 million to pregnancy support centers. As Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law health care conscience protections, the abortion industry is seeking ways to put unlimited abortion on Florida's ballot for 2024. South Carolina's governor is ordering a special legislative session to create a heartbeat abortion ban. And while we offer belated Mother's Day greetings, we are aware that suffering reproductive loss, especially abortion, is too often unaddressed. A story at lifenews.com has details, or call 833-403-HEAL. For pro-life headlines delivered to your email address daily, sign up at lifenews.com. This has been Life News Radio.
Welcome back to The Simple Truth. Jim and Becky Havens here. Wholeness and Healing Monday. 1-877-511-5483 is the number to call. Last chance to get a call in today on this topic of toxins all around us and what you can do about it. 1-877-511-5483. All right, we left it off with quite the cliffhanger, Becky. So soaps, deodorants, anything you want to share along those lines?
I appreciate you sharing your story about your deodorant. I'm sure you're not alone. Most men don't really care, and they kind of rely on their wife or friends that kind of help them out. But if you're having a reaction to it, they're not going to go searching around a natural beauty store, probably looking for a natural deodorant. But since I was already on that journey, I decided to try a few different things for you, and we found what finally worked. And yes, things like deodorant, and they're finally pulling aluminum and these other heavy metals and toxins out of deodorant, saying like, oh, this is a neurotoxin, aluminum, and it's linked to. So we probably should stop having people put that in their armpit, which is one of your primary detox areas on your body. So it made sense to finally, you wonder how long they've known this and they've hit it and they just use it for whatever reason. I don't know, maybe it makes it go on smooth or something like that. So yeah, I think it's important to, make sure that you are aware of what you're using. I think the deodorant that you use is called Little Seed Farm, and it's just this cute little farm that they've made a product that works for a lot of people, and it's in a glass package. It's a different way to put it on. You have to use a little scoop, and it sounds weird, but it's against the grain, and I think that's good. It's okay to try different things, and it works, and it has like 5 ingredients in it, and it's not going to make you ill and sick down the road. And it's great because you're supporting a small farm. Small farmers are being eradicated, and so it's good to find small businesses and not get everything off of Amazon and Walmart and all the companies that are obviously very corrupt in America, probably everywhere. And so, I created just a little shopping guide on my website. No other reason than people were asking me what I was using and how do I know what to get. And I thought it was pretty simple just to put it all together and share what we use or what's been recommended, and also what is not giving to bad bad things like Planned Parenthood and abortion, and they're not paying their employees to go have abortions. I mean, that really matters too. So I feel like I added both of those in, and that's a small little niche in there. And I don't know, it's not a ton, but that's what we have right now. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the website is safehavensmama.com. And great segue here into the final question that we asked those with the survey today. If a company supports abortion, would that knowledge prevent you from buying their products? 100% of those who responded said yes. And so Yvette in Miami, Florida said, how can we find out which brands support abortion and other stances against the Catholic faith? Leanne in Palencia, California said, I would love to know of a company that is Catholic or pro-life that I could support. We need to support these companies. Thank you. So anything else, you've got the resource out there again at safehavensmama.com, over 300 companies on a boycott list that you have put together that are in some way supporting abortion. Anything else that you can share with us today on this, Becky?
Yeah, I think that's really important to, if you can, and if you're aware, why not boycott those companies that are doing horrible things? And so they're making it very obvious who they are. And they came out, last July when Roe was overturned, and many companies came out, especially in the personal care product, for whatever reason. And it's very strange because most of these are women-owned companies, and they are very vocal about supporting Planned Parenthood, and they're giving proceeds to Planned Parenthood and abortion. And I went on like a total researching dive to find out who they were, because I wanted to ensure that I wasn't giving the money to them, because I know there's other alternatives and I can buy from other places who aren't doing that. So I really wanted to share who was doing that, because that information is not all in one place. And so I was able to put it together in a boycott list, mainly because people were asking, and I was like, I don't know why someone won't just make that. So I guess I'll just do it myself. And I'm glad I did, because I learned a ton, and it was really eye-opening. And I have, I think 400 right now, and that's probably just the tip, because there's some that there's only so far you can go. You have to research really in depth, and you can go to their websites and their social media accounts, and you can find a lot if you dig deep, and a lot of their reports are open, and you can look into it. And so putting it all together in one spot is a helpful way to I have it all divided into different categories. And then if you go into on the website, you can find some good companies. I wouldn't say that they're all Catholic. Probably a small percentage are Catholic business owners. I think more Catholics should take that on if they are able to, and offer Catholics a better option and selection. But there's a lot of good Christian ones, and even secular ones, who are just sticking to the mission of what they're doing. And you can find that there. And I think I had one more point to touch on, but it's slipping my mind, so I'll kick it back to you, Jim.
Very good. Yeah, again, safehavensmama.com is the website. And again, look, we're just regular people looking to live well, raise our family well. We believe in objective truth and asking questions when things don't make sense. And so certainly appreciate, Becky, all of your good work on this, pulling on this thread, being curious about this, trying to search out the problems here and what some good solutions would be. And so on this Monday show, what we're trying to do is just offer a forum. We want to get your thoughts on this, your experiences on these things. We appreciate very much your survey responses. And here's one more. This is Jan in Rochester, New York. And Jan says, she has a comment here, facial products are using monk fruit extract in so many of their items. I am severely allergic. I have to believe other women are affected by this with deep tissue acne breakouts. Beware. All right, so Jan giving us a little tip to beware of the monk fruit extract in many of the facial products that are out there. Maybe a new thing that's going on, it sounds like. Becky, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would always beware of the new latest craze. I mean, I feel like something comes out and they put it in everything and they think that it's totally safe. We don't know if there's studies behind it. We don't know if it's been tested. Most likely it's not been tested. But it's like a craze and people are making money off of it. And so they start putting it in their products and they don't realize until later on, this is like really a big irritant for skin. So be careful with that. Try to stick to things that have been around a little bit longer. And I haven't heard that specifically in skincare, but I kind of use just one or two brands and I stick to that. And I know that they're safe and that's kind of what I would say about that.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And if folks want to comment on some topics that they would like us to cover, we are certainly open to your input on that. Shoot me an email, jimh@thestationofthecross.com. Any topics that you would like to hear us present here and offer a forum to, jimh@thestationofthecross.com. All right, Becky, only a minute or two to go. Any other topics that come to mind that you would like to cover on this show as we go forward? I know we've talked about maybe getting after some information regarding water supply and what we know there, any problems, any solutions, anything else that comes to mind that people might be able to look forward to as we go here.
Yeah, I think the water is a huge issue. They don't tell you how many chemicals and heavy metals and the birth control pills and all this is in your water if you're drinking out of the tap, and that's really what you're getting at most restaurants. I'd like to dig into so many different things, the whole cancer thing and where people are being led in that area. I mean, there's so many different topics. So we'd love to hear your feedback for sure.
All right, very good. Any feedback that you have, jimh@thestationofthecross.com. And again, you can get those resources that Becky has put together, as well as all the good information that she has compiled for us by going to safehavensmama.com. That's safehavensmama.com. God bless you.